Welcome to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. In this episode, we'll be listening to Education for Publishers, Collaborative Marketing Strategies for Publishers and Booksellers, a session that was presented at Winter Institute 2025 in Denver, Colorado.
Good morning. We are so glad to see so many people in this audience. I am Kathy Berner. I'm going to do the housekeeping and then introduce the rest of the panel. So this session is Education for Publishers, collaborative marketing strategies for publishers and booksellers. Let me do my housekeeping. Slides and handouts are in the app and in the Wi2025 program. Please fill out the session survey. Remember, we are 5 stars. This is the best session you've been to. We are fun people. Also very wise. The recordings will be on BookWeb and on Booked, the podcast. Please silence your cell phones and devices. And when it's time for questions, please wait for the mic. We do have a room minder who will come to you with the microphone. Antitrust guidelines. I think you've all heard these many times in your lives as well as this week. But booksellers are encouraged to share ideas and support during the conference, but the Sherman Antitrust Act prohibits them from discussing price or pricing policies, boycotts, dividing up the market. For more information, please see the ABA's full antitrust guidelines on BookWeb. You know why you're here. Okay, we're going to do introductions, and then we're going to hit all of these points. Now, I'm putting on my Kathy Berner. I was a librarian, and I'm an event coordinator, so I'm kind of going to be the boss of you voice. While booksellers are more than welcome to attend this session, and I'm so glad to see so many of you in the audience, this session is intended for publishers. So with that in mind, we will prioritize publishers' questions and remarks during the Q&A portion. So glad booksellers are here. We want publishers to feel like this is a place where they can learn and be collaborative with us. So we'd like you to respect that. All right, now I'm done being that. Here we go with introductions. I am Kathy Berner. I am the event coordinator and kids specialist at Blue Willow Bookshop, a general bookstore in Houston, Texas.
My name is Emily Russo. I'm the co-owner of Print a Bookstore in Portland, Maine.
I'm Joanna Belfer with Bel Canto Books in Long Beach, California.
I'm Kim Brock. I am the adult book buyer at Joseph Beth Booksellers in Cincinnati, Ohio.
So the first question is, how can we move from a transactional relationship to a more collaborative one in the pre-order campaigns? Ooh. Here we go. Anyone have something to say?
Well, I think this is one of the topics that we brought up during our pre-planning for this event. And I think that a lot of booksellers probably know you have your good publisher reps or publicists that reach out to you and that you have built a relationship with over time, hosting the first event and then hopefully subsequent events. And so I think for me, just reminding folks reaching out to us, it's so helpful if you can learn a little bit more about our bookstore because we are a mission-driven store. We, highlight BIPOC and particularly AAPI and Filipino voices, learning about the different stores and their size or if they have a particular specialty, and hopefully thinking of this as a long-term partnership instead of just a one-and-done thing.
And I also think it's important to kind of just talk to the stores and what's worked in the past? What have you been really successful with? And then on the other end, what hasn't worked? Because no need to keep doing the same things over and over if they haven't worked. And sometimes that includes thinking outside the box of what you're doing and just having a more collaborative relationship with the store.
Yeah, I think intentionality is everything. I think what I learned from working at Greenlight Bookstore for several years was something that Rebecca Fitting said to me. And she said, do what you do and do it well and let go of the rest. Mm-hmm. So we've started having very frank conversations with our staff about, how much we are capable of doing with a 5-person staff. It's me and my business partner and 3 full-time employees. We can pull off a lot, but we can't pull off everything. And one of the things that we realized that we were not doing well was children's events. And it was a frank conversation that we had to have with ourselves, and it's a frank conversation that we have to have with publishers. That being said, one of our former employees opened a bookstore in Portland as well, in a more residential neighborhood. They're killing it with children's events. So I would much rather let go of something that's not working for us and let a fellow bookstore do really, really well with it than try and throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks. So intentionality is everything. And when talking to reps and publishers and publicists, I think clarity is kindness. I'm a toxic empath. I want to please everybody, but you just can't do it. And sometimes you just have to say, this is not going to work for us.
I've been having that exact conversation with a number of booksellers while I've been here in Denver. And how many people here are West Wing fans? Okay. In the very last episode, when Lily Tomlin's character, known as Debbie Fitterer, says to Matt Santos's, okay, thanks, Jim, says to Matt Santos's new executive assistant, the most common word you are going to say is no. Say it with empathy and you'll be fine. You need to say no kindly, and publishers appreciate that. I think we can all agree that when we're like, we can't do this and we can do this instead, or we can't do this. Maybe you want to reach out to one of these other stores to make it work, because, quote, High School Musical, we're all in this together. And without that collaboration and that understanding, we're not going to be as successful as we could.
True, because the bottom line is you want to have a successful collaboration for the store, the publisher, and the author. And if it's not going to work for either entity or all three, don't do it. And that's okay to not do it.
Exactly. You'd rather have something done really well that's successful for all involved
100%.
than something sad. Okay, any other comments on that? Okay, all right. So, promotional and marketing strategies to encourage partnerships. Provide digital assets.
We love
Yes,
that.
please.
Please, all day, every day.
Please.
I wanted to share, I think probably some of the other booksellers in this room participated, like for example, so I think it's helpful for you to have specific examples. I guess it was, time means nothing to me. So I think it was last fall. I don't remember. But Amy Tan had the Backyard Bird Chronicles, and the publicity team reached out specifically to particular bookstores, in this case, API bookstores, because she wanted to support API bookstores. And so they created a campaign where we offered a pre-order campaign where we had special signed book plates that were only going to be offered in this scenario, and like a art print by Amy. And then they also promoted it on their website and on their social media and gave us assets that we could just easily drop into Canva and... Nope. Oh,
how many links does it?
Nope. That's for a minute. Okay,
it's in there somewhere.
Then afterwards, we'll get to it. I'll be like, oh, look, this is what Joanna was talking about.
Yeah. And knowing that so many of us are either one-person teams or 3-person or 5-person teams, anything that you can do to help us make the event more successful and get more eyeballs onto a pre-order campaign or what have you, is only going to help everyone in the long term.
And not only that, but from a design perspective, if the publisher creates it, then we know that it's with their style guide, and we know that the headshot is correct, and we know that the cover version is correct. So, it just makes the consistency so much easier.
Oh, yeah. And for a lot of us, we don't have the budgets or the bandwidth to do the creation of marketing materials. So like this one's for our store, for Chloe Lease. And we were thrilled to get it because now we don't have to worry about creating something and that it looks less than, but it looks like the way you want it and great. And we can get it everywhere. We can use it on our social media. We can use it in our newsletter that we mail out. And it's just fantastic. And just for another example, when Onyx Storm came out, God bless Macmillan, you sent us everything and we used it for everything. And I believe that helped make our event as successful as it was. We had over 350 people in our store for that event.
Wow.
And it was amazing. So thank you very much for that.
Let's talk about the thing I almost showed. You want to talk about that, Emily? Because it's so cool.
Yeah. But so before we play the video, I happened to find it about 2 weeks after our initial planning call. And we were talking about some ideas of things that publishers can do. And for some reason I thought of, I'm going to date myself here, but, remember back in the 90s and you would be listening to the radio and you would hear a promo and you would be like, this is so-and-so from the Gin Blossoms will be playing, in Boston. Thank you for listening to WCR, whatever. It's like, well, how cool would it be for authors to do little videos of themselves, and it would be so easy to just do it. And I don't know how long it takes, an hour or two. And all you have to do is it's the same script. But like, I will be in Portland, Maine on this date. Hope to see you there. And each store could use that as a marketing asset. So this isn't quite that, but HarperCollins did a wonderful promo for Sarah Perry's new book of essays called Sweet Nothings, I think it's called. Should have looked that up before.
Here we go.
I got on stage. But I thought it was so fun, so cute.
Okay, now it's not.
Oh.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Do you know?
Nobody knows. I'm Sarah Perry, and I'm the author of Sweet Nothings, Confessions of a Candy Lover.
Favorite M&M color?
Tan. They're discontinued. Now we know how old you are.
What is the most underrated?
Rolos.
What's the most overrated?
Ferrero Rocher.
Also agreed.
Change my mind.
Okay. So what I would ask you is why you hate candy corn. Is it the ubiquity of it? Is it that it seems overrated? Is it really the flavor?
It's the flavor, but it's also, it looks weird.
It looks weird. Okay. Would it make a difference to you that they were invented in the 1800s and they were originally called chicken feed?
Anyway, I see Ronnie there. This is a HarperCollins book. I loved this, and unfortunately, our event with Sarah Perry had to be canceled due to snow. But I saw this, and we retweeted it, reacted, whatever. We put it on social media, and it was so captivating. And I think at least what we're seeing on the social media end is anything with a face or a video, the clicks are much higher than if it's just a shot of the book. Mm-hmm. So more stuff like this, please. I thought this was so engaging and captivating and cute and sweet. I just loved it.
And I know this is for publishers, but like if booksellers have the bandwidth to do that, that's super fun. But it's like an inspiration to bounce off of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's that great produced one, and then maybe the store then supports it by doing some sort of Q&A about candy.
Yeah.
And changing people's mind about chicken feed.
How many licks?
Nope. Okay. So, co-op displays and backlist promos. Who wants to tackle that? Anybody?
I'm happy to say, if you want to help us, then just help us. So make it easier, please. Again, I'm mostly a one-woman show with a couple of part-time helpers who do bringing up sales and helping in the store with customers. And I really appreciate publishers that have either like an umbrella premier marketing thing. You just sign up once and you get credit for whatever. Or people who have a very easy, streamlined process. Because frankly, I don't have time to look for each publisher's procedure and then do that procedure. We host anywhere between 4 to 10 events a month. And if I had to do that for everyone, then we wouldn't be able to do events. So please help us there.
And I would say for backlist promos, I love the general backlist promos. Mm-hmm. So, when you use the code, what's not, I don't want to speak for the rest of the panelists, but what's not working for us, and again, we're 1,600 square feet, is the promos in the front list where an author's new book is coming out. Forgive me, Dennis Lehane, for using it as an example here. But if Dennis Lehane has a new book coming out, asking us to consider buying 4 copies of Mystic River isn't helpful. We may be able to take one because it would be great to have it back in, but the 4 copies, it's too much, and it's too much money for us. It's too much space in the store that it could be taken up in overstock, and we're probably just going to have to send those back. So I would like to see. I'm feeling a little bit of pressure from publishers to take on a lot of this backlist in higher quantities to quote unquote get longer, better terms and longer dating. So
very much so. You need to consider all the store sizes when you're doing promos, because everyone, like Emily was saying, that you can't do 4 copies all the time.
Yeah.
You can't.
I would love to. Don't get me wrong. Again, Dennis, I'm sorry. I'd love to take on 4 copies in this group, but yeah.
And the size of our store, we can, but we don't need it. So it's like we're ordering just to get the money, and it's like, why? Why? It's unnecessary. So just
that money's going straight back to UPS.
Yeah. So just like a little more mindfulness when looking at the promos, or if you could tier them out, like, oh, for this size store, that size store, that size store, or that probably would be a lot more helpful.
I wanted to add one more thing about, because I do see a lot of promos for, Women's History Month is coming up. Here's our selections that we want to help you feature if you're interested for women's history, which I super appreciate. And I love seeing like a catalog in Edelweiss, because again, that takes some work off of my plate and I can just click the ones I like. But I would love to see these like 3 months in advance instead of a month in advance, because we're typically ordering so our store specifically, each month we do a themed table that's like usually for the ALA celebration that month. And I'm already ordering those books a month out. So if I get your list that month, I'll flag it and I will look at it next year because it's too late. So if there's any way to give us more lead time, that would be super appreciated.
Yeah, I think more lead time across the board. And
I know it's not always possible for you.
Agree. Like you might have a great idea and you're like, holy cow, maybe we can just skate this in. And that's wonderful. But like Joanna said, then maybe that gets flagged for next year. A lot of us are working 2, 3, 4 months out, because when we do that and we have we have things stable, then if something pops up, we can attempt to bring that in, or we can be nimble. That's what allows us to be nimble, is when we're planning so far in advance. I don't think it means that we're unyielding, but I think it means that we really appreciate having things far in advance. Any other comments on co-op displays and backlist promos?
I would like to just see co-op go away. We're talking about clarity as kind of, not the money coming back to us. I want that. But yeah, just, whether it's a partnership program, anything where I'm not having to jump through hoops and like find the newsletter that I created 6 months ago, I want all that. I want all that to go away.
So I have a reminder that pops in my inbox every Friday morning that says co-op, and I'm like,
yeah.
And sometimes I do it and I'm like, oh, that was not bad.
Yeah. And then some days.
Okay. And some days I'm like, oh, I got to look at that spreadsheet again. But we do appreciate your support. You're really awesome. You guys are fantastic. Keep it up. Okay, building connections, connecting booksellers with bookstagrammers and book influencers. We found that to be, we use it, we find it helpful in events.
Yes.
Like having them as moderators.
Yes.
Like
so we know like a lot of the publishers have better relationships than we do with influencers. So if there was a way for you to connect them with events that we're having, or if there's something you're excited about, just to bridge that gap between us and the ones, even just if they're just in our area, that would be fantastic.
We opened as a pop-up in 2018 and then moved into brick and mortar space, like a store within a store situation at the end of 2019. And one of the most helpful things for us was connecting with like our local bookstagrammer community. Because obviously like just starting out, you have 1,000 followers, 3,000 followers, whatever. And meeting people who had like 15,000, 20,000 followers, like, what are you doing? Right. Are you giving people money? Like what's happening? But if you're looking for ways to support new stores, particular stores in your area, if your author has a particular focus, I think that's another way to think outside of the box and build a different event or something special for that particular event or book or what have you.
And in ways that publishers could forge relationships with booksellers, I mean, our reps are our favorite people. They
reps.
put, more reps, please don't cut back on reps. We want more reps, but I would also love to see more relationships forged between publicists and editors.
Mm-hmm.
I think, we get a lot of stuff from our reps, and sometimes, when the rep visits, it's a stack of books and there isn't necessarily a focus on one. It's everything. And don't get me wrong, we want those galleys, but there is nothing more special than getting a personal letter from an editor or a publicist. That book goes home with me that night, and it's almost like homework. I'm like, I am reading this sucker.
Yeah, I'm giving extra attention to that.
You're feeding our egos when that when those personal books come from somebody other than the rep. And again, I don't want to. The reps are so important. I don't want that relationship to devolve in any way, but developing a relationship with an editor or a publicist can be super special as well.
Because I think it only enhances your relationship with the publisher as a whole.
Absolutely.
And when we get, at least I feel, when we get a personal note, that means that someone's thought about whether this is a fit for a store and why it's a fit for us.
Exactly.
And that,
or even a fit for like a specific bookseller.
Exactly.
That's going to lead to a staff pick. That's going to lead to copies sold.
Exactly.
I wanted to also put in one thing about literary festivals or larger events that your author might be coming into our city for. If there's any way that you can let us know in advance or let your reps know to then pass that information on to us, that would be super helpful, because there have been times, we have a large convention center in our city, and I usually find out like the day of or, 3 days beforehand, oh, did you know so-and-so author is here? And I'm like, that's great. We're a 600 square foot bookstore, so I can't keep every book in stock all the time. It would have been nice to know that so that we could have ordered that in if it makes sense for our store. So any situations like that you obviously you may not necessarily know every single thing that your author is doing, but if you know in advance, please share it with us.
Yeah, especially if it's a publisher supported event. That makes perfect sense. Even if you're not there, even if the author doesn't come to you, at least that the name profile has been raised, and it allows you to highlight it too.
Yeah, and because if the author can come to our store, we will order more copies to get them to sign for us. We have no problem with that. We just need to know. Yeah.
All right. Pre-order campaigns. I can't remember which store that is.
So it looks like our store too. Yeah. So we did a pre-order campaign with Erin French, a chef in Maine, for her new book, Big Heart Little Stove, I think is what it's called. And we sold, I think at the end of the day, we sold 7,000 copies of that book. We did the event, which was a sold out event, about 1,300 people. We had the same number of pre-orders in the store. But we also worked with the Lost Kitchen and their gift shop. Since we are a New York Times reporting store, the gift shop ordered their copies through us, and we provided those copies. So at the end of the day, we obviously gave them a discount, but all of the copies came through us. So we were able to report over almost 8,000 copies to the New York Times for on sale week. When I say that made our year, like obviously just not talking about discounts and money out and all of that, but like just cash coming into the store, it was almost $300,000. So more of that, please. Like it was so great to get that call from Celadon and say, hey, you want to work with us on this? Like just one of those every 5 years, like it would be amazing. I would much rather see, and I know Emily Henry is your local. Like I would much rather see, Joseph Beth get all of those Emily Henry sales than Target. I just work with us on those, because we can't. Again, we're a 5-person staff, and we pulled that off.
Yeah,
I mean, we can do it. Can't do it every day, but we can do it. So. Yeah. Local authors, please.
Yes. Love that. If you know that an author is in the area and connected to, close enough to a store, we will happily work with them. We will build them monuments. We will get their favorite food. We will donate to their favorite charity. Whatever you need, we will make it work. And God bless Emily Henry.
Yeah.
She keeps our lights on. So.
Yeah. And I think we'll talk about this a little. No, it's because this is for publishers, but for booksellers, if you want to talk to us afterwards, this is doable. I think all of us have relationships with authors where we are their store.
Mm-hmm.
We're currently in the middle, I was kind of jokingly bemoaning, we're in the middle of a campaign where we blew past 1,100 books this morning. And I'm just like, where are they going to go? B, how long is it going to take a sign? But at the same time, it's 1,100. I mean, it's 1,100 books and counting that we're going to get out the door. And we are thrilled to be able to have that opportunity. And I think all of us and all the booksellers in the room are small but mighty. Mm-hmm. We can do it. We just need to have candid conversation, compassionate conversations.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so pre-order campaigns, let's hit the notes here. Let's simplify and streamline the process.
Please. Please.
I don't like filling out Google Forms saying that I'm going to participate in a pre-order campaign.
Yeah. Or that I need to send in proof that we've done things.
Like proof that you've talked to your staff about.
Yeah, that I've sent emails to my staff about this pre-order campaign. Like, get out of our business. And I'm just being frank.
I'm also like, how do I do that?
And I'm just being frank because I love you all and you need to know this. That's
we don't have time for that.
Yeah, we don't.
We do appreciate that you certainly want informed people answering the phone.
Yeah, we get that.
And you
100%.
want them to have that because we want to be professional too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to sound like fools on the phone. We understand that.
Right.
But asking for that kind of proof is a really high bar sometimes.
Yeah. And if we're signing up for a pre-order campaign, we're in because we don't have time to be wishy-washy about it. If we're signing up saying we're in, we're ordering these books, we're doing all this stuff, we're locked in with you. So all the extra hoops, we don't have time for that.
Just a list of clear expectations.
Yes.
Do X on this day, do
Exactly.
Y on this day. It's so easy to put into, whatever form you use for staff communication, Slack or whatever, communicate with your marketing coordinator about what needs to be done when. Again, just coordinate clear expectations.
Yes. And streamline.
Yeah.
Easy for us, easy for you. That's all we want.
Exactly. Also, please be transparent about how many stores and which stores are participating in the campaign. Houston is the size of Rhode Island, and there's amazing bookstores in Houston. However, if you're only doing a 5-store pre-order campaign, 2 of them should not be in Houston.
Yeah.
So please, and let us know, like, if there's another store doing it, then we might be like, should we devote the energy and time that it takes to be participating at the same time another store is participating?
Agree.
And so also to go back, to piggyback on that, same thing with events. And, I know lots of publicists and event teams are, usually based in New York. You probably may or may not have been to California anytime recently. Long Beach is very different from LA. So it's, I think the onus is on us to educate you in terms of where our stores are, what's near us, what's feasible to do in terms of, booking your authors on multi-day, multi-city events. But to Kathy's point, like, let us know if you're also considering another store in our same neighborhood or, because we don't want to cannibalize each other's sales. And we want as many people to show up for the author wherever they are. So, that in conjunction with the pre-order campaigns. And also, just please keep sharing about the information through your social media, through whatever your newsletters are. We're going to do the same because, as we all know, there's so much information that goes out there. And every single day, a customer comes to me and says, "Oh, I didn't see that. I wish I had known about that. I've only been posting and emailing you, and I don't know what else to send you a carrier pigeon." But there's only so much
even read that.
Right? Exactly. So I think all of us can help with that promotion.
Agreed. Okay. Swag.
Oh, there's my picture.
Here's the picture. Here's the beautiful Amy Tan asset that was created. Okay. I'm going to read this part. If swag is limited, please be sure the author shares that information from the jump so that customers and their fans know. And please make sure the store knows so they can count down their orders so no one places an order expecting something and doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Because that might get back to the author, like someone might post on their Instagram, but the biggest fuss comes to us. And it's our fault. Our fault. It's not our fault. It's our fault. Any swag should be meaningful to customers and easy to mail. No food. I once heard about a pre-order campaign that had honey.
Oh God.
We had one with lip balm in August.
Oh, jeez.
You know how many times we had to wrap that? Anyway, I think we're kind of divided on pins. I'm neutral to okay on pins, but others are not okay on pins.
Flat pack, please.
Yeah. You do have to do a lot more fancy stuff with bubble wrap. Please make sure, prints, bookmarks, and book overlays are very popular.
Huge.
But please make sure they're smaller than the trim size of the book.
Yeah.
I know this, and it wasn't fun. Because then that means that it's not easy to flat pack. It means we've got to put all this stuff in place, because when they're doing a pre-order, customers are expecting the experience. When they open the box, they want, or the bag, or
They want it to be pristine.
They want it to be pristine.
And we want it to be pristine. We want them to be excited.
Exactly. We want them to be happy about that. If swag is not paper, then stores can't send it by media mail. And some stores do still send by media mail.
we do.
We do.
Yeah. So pins get, that automatically disqualifies us from media mail. So we lose that money shipping it first class if somebody, because we don't have the time or the energy to go back into our POS system or our website to alter every single pre-order to disqualify it from media mail. We just don't have that time. So then we have to send it first class, and then we lose that money. So anything that's not paper, we're probably not going to do it. So I'm very anti-pin. It's also just so hard to keep track of it. Where does it go in the store? It gets lost all the time. Maybe that's more on us, but it's just so hard to keep track of those little things. Paper is just so much easier.
I also think, it's unique from store to store, as you can see, even just in this conversation. So sometimes it might be helpful to ask, we're thinking of doing this. Is that effective? Does that work for you? We're partners, and we are happy to let you know our opinion, and we will do it nicely. Providing swag unique to independent bookstores is incredible. We love that. I mean, some authors have special editions at every single big box store, which we understand. So then if you want to make something unique to us, give us some unique swag.
Yeah. I mean, our customers love all the deluxe editions and things like that. But, when Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, the other place get, the deluxe editions, those are people that we lose. Mm-hmm. So if the indies, if you just did a super cool thing just for the indies, I think you would see amazing sales for that, because people come to us. We have very loyal people, and just getting something that's indie exclusive, they love that, saying, I got that thing and you didn't get it because you don't have an indie bookstore, or you didn't get to an indie bookstore. But just a thing for the indies, I think that would be a big hit.
Yeah, I think one of our best independent bookstore days was when Stephen King did that exclusive.
Still our best. Yeah.
So more of that.
People still come in do you have one squirreled away? We do not. We do not.
You are a big store. It might just be in a corner somewhere.
Trust me, if it was there, someone, a bookseller would have it right now. No.
I do also want to say, in appreciation of all of the deluxe and special editions and, cool jackets that are coming out with hardcovers, please think about how they're shipping from your warehouses, because nothing hurts my heart than to order a box of Onyx Storm, just for example, and having half or 3/4 of them damaged because they did not have enough packing, whatever. And, especially when it's something like that, we did a pre-order campaign with Christina Lauren, who's a huge romance author in our area. And and those folks want their book to come from the public, from the printing machine, into their hard
If they can stand to the end of the belt and take it off the belt.
Exactly.
If there's a nick or a dent, they will see it. And then we get phone calls saying, I ordered this book, I waited 3 months for it, and it has a dent, I'm returning it. And now we're okay, great.
And all of those can't be replaced.
Right.
So So it's
people. I shouted out Onyx Storm. I appreciated that the team also then was able to send us extra jackets.
That was the best thing ever.
That was the smartest thing ever. Yes.
Love that.
So many tears were dried. Like, don't worry, here's a new one. And there was dancing in the streets.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I would say like maybe even send each store like 5 extra jackets to be ahead of it, because we had to wait.
Such a good idea.
Yeah, we had to tell you we had damaged books, and then you sent us more, but then we had to wait a week, and then that meant that was a week of more books we couldn't have sold.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. No, but seriously, like,
no, really.
Again, being proactive and knowing like this is probably going to be a problem, or
potential problem.
I mean, sometimes boxes are packed perfectly, and UPS just drops the box in mud. Like it's just there are things you can't account for.
Okay, creative approaches to supporting authors. How am I doing on time? I have 9 minutes. Building relationships. These are things that you can do. I think the biggest one is encouraging authors to connect with their local indies. And I would argue, let's not do it the week before they're on sale day.
Yeah.
Build a relationship, because we want to support them, and they need to support us. Also, please make sure that they list either bookshop.org or their local indie on their website instead of that which should not be named.
Yes.
I would love. I know it's not every author has a local independent bookstore really close to them, but I would love to see as many authors as possible that their local, the closest bookstore possible to them. That is where you go for signed copies.
Yes.
It's great for publishers to provide the 24, the ones that are signed in the warehouses. Those are great, but like personalizations, every author should have a relationship with the closest indie bookstore if possible. Again, it can make our year with those. And, we're blessed in Portland. We have a ton of authors, but I would say not even some of the ones that are really well known necessarily have a pre-order campaign with us. So I want to say, like, as soon as that book is announced, that author should be in touch.
I think it should be in place already.
It should, yeah.
Because what's going to happen is they're going to announce it, and then you're going to click on the publisher page, and thank you for listing other options beside he who shall not be named. But if there's a way for them to be like, hey, Emily Henry's like, hey, my book's coming out. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. And I just lost my train of thought. But we always post it on social media when they come in and sign. And every time those books sell out. Mm-hmm. Every time. I don't care if they sign 10 or if they sign 50. Every single time we post it, so-and-so was in our store, they signed books. Even if they're just passing through, like, because Cincinnati is sometimes a stopover spot for people. Yeah. If they're just passing through and they want to just come in and sign, we will gladly welcome them. And every time they sign, we post it, it sells out every time.
Again, let us know that your authors are coming to town if you know, because we, some of us don't necessarily have space for that many books to constantly have on the shelves.
Exactly.
So we want to make it a success and make, your authors happy and make our customers happy, because there's nothing worse than finding out, the day of that an author that we love is going to be here. And
you have 2 books.
We just sold the last one or none.
Well, and our distribution comes out of the upper Midwest, and we're in Texas. So that's days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so again, more forward planning. And again, we know you don't always know what your authors are going to do. We completely understand that. Sometimes it's like wrestling a wet cat, but a very nice cat, but one that's wet and squirmy. But again, we are in partnership, and we want these authors to succeed as much as you do. It's very important to all of us.
Yes.
Anything else on the slide?
I think marketing 101 for authors. Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
I guess. I mean, it's, my background is in events, so I'm not necessarily the best marketing person, but I think just having authors have expectations of what is possible, just kind of letting them know what bookstores can and can't do, I'm losing my train of thought here, but
you go, and then I've got something after you.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of like a one sheet. Like we have one for like whatever I can think of in the store.
Yeah.
Because I know most people won't read past one page. So even if you could do 5 to 10 bullet points or a timeline for your authors to say, like, from publication day, 9 months in advance, and then also something from publication day going forward. Here are the top 3 things that you can do to make your launch more successful. Reach out to your local bookstore, reach out to whatever local festivals are happening in your area, whatever book influencers are out there. Because I think that, for us especially, we see a lot of debut authors, a lot of BIPOC authors who don't get the support that, Stephen King is going to get. And so we spend a lot of time educating those authors in terms of, oh, well, did you think about this? Or, I talk to people and they're like, oh, I didn't even know I could do a pre-order campaign. Nobody mentioned that to me. And I'm like, what the? So if you can, already put that in their minds, I think that would be fantastic. We had 4 romance authors during the pandemic because we were still able to have people in our store because we had a garden space. They had met each other, I guess, through like one of the debut author Slack conversations or wherever they met. And they all realized that they were going to be out in town for some romance convention in Nevada. And they took it upon themselves to create their own book tour and drove themselves around from Nevada to California and came to our bookstore, and we would never have seen them otherwise. So anytime you can, just like that suggestion, and I know not every author can do that or wants to do that, but just letting them know that that's a possibility and setting the expectation for them in terms of how much support you can provide. And if you can't provide that much support, where else can they go?
Yeah. I think that's really good. I also would add, for example, on a pre-order campaign or an event, it's very important that the author announce it and continue to announce 100%. It. Mm-hmm. We'll amplify it. Mm-hmm. We'll repost it. But the author's fans are not always I'm sure they would love us if they met us, but they are not. Don't know us yet. They don't know us yet. Yeah. So get the help get them to us because we're the ones selling the book. So encourage your authors to post more than once. And I understand that putting the burden of marketing on authors is complicated and is very hard for some authors who don't have that bandwidth. I get it. But I think the one sheet idea, like if publicity says, look, we're going to, here's your program and here's your education. I think that's so helpful to them.
Mm-hmm. And because then you put the onus on them and I'd much rather have ideas and know about things I could potentially do, because so many authors we've talked to, they have no concept of what is possible or not possible.
Right.
And most authors especially debut authors, are introverted. They've been like in the world of writing their book. They're not marketing experts. No. So, help them and help us.
Help them help us. Yeah. and I would also have some managing of expectations too. Yeah. Not every pre-order campaign is going to be 5,000 books.
Right? No. Yeah.
Or event. 500.
No. And focus on the relationship building. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think that's critical. Yes. All right. Does anyone have anything else? Because otherwise, if not, I'm going to move to Q&A.
Okay.
All right. Where's my? Oh, good. Gianna, are you stretching or are you raising your hand? No. You got to wait till the microphone comes to you. God. I'm so scared.
Is this working?
Yes, it is.
I'm Gianna Lamore, and I'm from the University of Texas Press. Right. And it's awesome living in Texas right now.
So fun.
So a lot of what we're talking about here really is focused on the big publishers. So my friends here at Random House, my former employer before I was fired. I wasn't fired by them. But we're small presses. I know Duke is here. My friends in California are here. We're your publishers. Mm-hmm. We're yours and yours and you're ours. We think of you all of the time. We do the research. We know what you can sell, what you can't sell. If you want to get me on the phone, you get me on the phone. You probably don't answer your phone. California, who knows? But we can't afford the co-op that the big publishers can. We're not going to do a lot of merch. And I still don't understand what kind of merch you would want, except not pins and something. But let's say I did a limited edition Sinead O'Connor poster. I mail that for you.
I know that.
I mail your that poster to your customers.
That's amazing.
Signed books, we can do that. Our editors are happy to write anything. At least 2 of our editors are. But don't forget about us. Terms, you'd be surprised. We work so hard for you. I don't think about a big, online realtor. I don't think about them every day. I think about you. So please think about us. Anything you need, we can do. Probably not Duke. They're lazy. I'm just kidding. But we love you. You are so important to us. Give us a chance.
Can I say this to you? Hold on, don't. I would encourage you to establish their relationships with your authors and their local indies.
We do.
No, I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that to all the smaller presses.
Yeah.
Dig into that. Lean in hard to that. Go visit. Go make a friend. Talk to the booksellers. Buy a book. Buy a cup of coffee if they sell coffee. Whatever it is, lean in hard. Become besties. Make it like a first date, and we will court you like nobody's business.
Yeah, we have Margot Price, who's a big deal. Joseph Beth.
Mm-hmm.
We do events. Henny Februrary, we put him at every single indie.
Oh, yes,
we constantly think of you. And I do think that my colleagues and our small presses are doing the same. So don't forget about us. Also come to the small publisher breakfast.
And I would
it's early and you're hungover, still come.
And I will add too, I don't necessarily even think swag is necessary.
Not at all.
Yeah, no. Not at all. Like if just a pre-order campaign in and of itself, if it's a local press, that's fantastic.
Yeah. If
it
you're
doesn't
doing
need to be anything special. If it is intentional and local and important to the bookstore that you are working with.
Exactly.
And I think another great thing is, as you're starting out, to booksellers who are in this room, this is a great way to form partnerships and to work with. You don't always have to work with giant publishers and giant names, because even the events we've done with you, Gianna, have been fantastic. I think about you every day too.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Kerrigan. I work for John Wiley & Sons. We're really getting back into our trade publishing strategies, which is great after years and years of being ignored. I wanted to ask a question on pre-order campaigns. If you don't have signed copies and you don't have swag, does extra discount move the needle? Okay.
We love extra discount.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That is the end of my question.
I also wanted to quickly say, because we have a Wiley author who reached out to us and said, and she's a Asian American advertising executive, and she wrote a book, and she specifically reached out to us to say, we're getting, I'm speaking at XYZ place, or this company wants to bring me in to do a talk for them, and I am telling them to buy my books from you. So anything that so it doesn't have to be like literary fiction or whatever. If you have a nonfiction author, a business author who's coming in, and you know that they there's a special affinity between them and a bookstore, help us make that connection.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be signed copies. It doesn't have to be swag. It can literally just be the book. But again, going back to intentionality, it has to have a connection to the area, the bookstore. If your author's from Arkansas, it might not sell well in Maine, but a Maine author, of course we're going to do that.
Oh yeah, we do so well with UK press, because if it says Kentucky, the people in the state of Kentucky will buy it, and it is rarely a signed copy. It is rarely pre-order. It is never swag, but because of the relationship and what they've established and how they lean into us, and we are just so communicative with each other, that's the important thing.
Hi, I'm Courtney Watkins from Kansas City. Andrews McNeil. Joanna, I met you yesterday. Yes, at RepPix. So I have 3 quick questions for clarification. One is, would you all be interested in assets, even without an event? For example, assets that could help highlight a particular title that you could either post on your social or website. Is that helpful?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Second question. book plates. So if we can't get an author to sign the books, are book plates a big deal still?
Oh,
Okay.
please, for the love of God, let us know who the author
Let
is.
us know who has signed that book plate.
If you just put
During
a
the
post-it note
pandemic,
and
yeah,
in
no.
nice print that says, "This is John Smith,"
Yep.
we would love you.
Because when
Because
you
you
have
can't
to-
read the
No, when you have to
signature.
text other event people and be like,
Yes.
anyone seen this one?
yeah.
I don't know.
Perfect. And then lastly, Joanna, you mentioned I'm taking notes, you see. Building a different kind of event. Can you give an example of one that you've had that was really effective or fun or moved the needle?
I think there was an earlier photo. So during the pandemic, we were in this ridiculously beautiful space that was like a store within a store, and they had a back patio. So the 4 authors, one author reached out to me. She was friends with this other group of authors, and they built an event for us. We called it Celebration because it was all Asian romance authors. And and we're doing it again this year. And it was fantastic. Like, as you can see, people were super happy. So anything that leans into, something fun, something quirky that, is catchy, or people are like, "Ooh, what is that?" I haven't reached out to anybody yet, but we have been doing boozy book fairs with our local brew pub. And so thinking about, is there an author whose book makes sense to feature at that event? Or do you have, swag tote bags that you can send us in advance to give away to customers if they make a purchase of a book? So I think it just like thinking out of the box that way. We have a cookbook author we're doing a pre-order campaign for them now. And we're also hosting an event at the brew pub that we work with, because they're also part Asian owned, and they always have like food pop-ups. So they're looking for a Korean owned food pop-up, because the book is a Korean book, cookbook. And so just things that help develop like synergy around the book, or, if the author has you talked about like a nonprofit or organization that they support, like let us know in advance so we can try to find an organization in our city that works in that particular.
Yeah, we partnered with the zoo once before. It was a kid's picture book about a turtle. And so we partnered with our local zoo, and they brought in turtles, and everyone was thrilled. And who would have thought? Turtles.
Who doesn't want to pet a turtle at an event? Or see it?
Hi, I'm Caitlin from Lonely Planet. So question for you guys about digital assets and sort of the easiest way to get them to you. So because we're, a distributor, we don't have direct reps to you guys. So we're sort of removed a bit. So what is the space that would be best to share digital assets with you? We love to make them. We make them all the time. Like
Edelweiss.
Edelweiss. Uploading them to Edelweiss.
And on your website too, where it can be easily.
Right. So we have like a trade website that we can share with everybody.
But
I
think Edelweiss is great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. We all use it.
Hi, Elisa with Beacon Press. This is for thank you. This is for Joanna specifically, because I saw on your website that your storefront is basically bookshop, but you have the pre-orders separately. We love sending our authors to the local indies to sign copies or offer to do pre-orders, but a lot of times we have to cancel out the bookshop storefronts because there isn't a way for them to have the signed copies online. So how did you decide to do Shopify? Is that something the ABA is advising people on, or is it something you did yourself?
It's just something I did myself, and we can talk about it later. But our model is a little bit different from like what you might think of as a traditional bookstore, because we started as a pop-up. And even when we moved into our first brick and mortar space, we were a store within a larger retail store. And so we just had to piggyback off of whatever point of sale system they used, which was Shopify. And we've tried Square before. I don't have the budget for, I would love to have like a fancy bookseller specific point of sale system, but we're just not quite there yet. And so that's why we use Shopify, because I found that it was easier to do pre-orders with them than through Square. And that's why in our bookshop lists, it always says, or it should say in the descriptions, if you're looking for signed copies, click here. and making that distinction, because people do get confused about like, if I order here, where is it coming from? Hope that helps.
Hi, Sherry from Zibby Publishing. I want to talk about Indie Bookstore Day. What is helpful for you all? What do you want publishers to do? What do you want us to not do so that it's not a burden on a very busy day for you all?
That's an excellent question.
I'll go, friends. We want the coolest thing that you can possibly come up with. I mean, honest to goodness, we keep talking about the Stephen King book from some years ago because it's still probably for most of us, and I know other book owners in the room would say the most successful thing we ever got. And sometimes people feel like they need to give more stuff. No. If you do something really cool and do less items and make it ultra exclusive, like how they do for Record Store Day, how there's like, people still talk about the vinyl of whatever Taylor Swift did that day. So like something ultra cool and limited for indies would be the best thing ever to do. Because all the other little cutesy things, maybe, yeah, but like something that's like ultra cool, like for us, every time I think about it, like if you got like a group of like the top romance authors going right now, and they did like a cute little book. Like if you got Rebecca Yarros, Emily Henry, and this is like my dream, so just go with it. Anna Wong, Jasmine Guillory.
Thank you.
Yes, Talia Hill, all of those in there, steamy hot romance in one thing, because that's hot right now, and gave it just to indies.
Yeah, because P.S. they did it, but they did it for the person who should not be named.
Right. We could probably sell 10,000 or more of that. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like I know Joseph Beth would commit to buying at least 500. I know for a fact. And I'm authorizing that if you do it. We'll buy 500 because we would sell that all year nonstop.
Kim has the store credit card with her, so just come up.
Don't say that.
But no, that's a great idea.
Just that one hot thing that is super hot right now and give it to indies and watch us work. Okay, you hear me? Watch us work.
Not so much a question, but a reminder. I'm Brian Juneman, Executive Director of Pacific Northwest Booksellers Association, and we're talking about how to get the right message to the right people in an efficient manner. Don't forget about your regional, and I'm not saying this because it's just advantageous for us. It's advantageous for all parties.
Facts.
We already have
true.
Dedicated regional group of booksellers paying attention to us regularly. Send the message through us. We'll amplify it to our audience, and those people who are looking for that information will respond. It is incredibly efficient and affordable.
Yes,
so
and every regional.
Don't forget your regional.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah. Every regional has a newsletter. So yeah.
Okay, we have
2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes or 2 questions. We have 2 minutes. Oh my God, come on.
We got one more question.
Oh, yay. DJ.
Hello, I'm DJ from the marketing team at Avon and Harper Voyager. Thank you so much. Thank you for also saying no more pins. I'm so excited to go back and tell you. No more pins.
We will still do that.
If anyone asks, I will still do them. But I wanted to ask, do you have any suggestions or tips for what an author should do or say when either they set up time or we set up a time for them to come and introduce themselves to their local indie? Hopefully it's at a time when they have a galley, and presumably it's okay for them to bring that in. But if you have any tips, that'd be great.
So I still tell people about this all the time because this author was self-published, and I hope someday that somebody picks up his book and it can find a bigger readership. But we had a Filipino author named Kenneth Tan reach out to us, and he made his own book through Kickstarter. He raised $45,000. I don't understand how. I was like, what the? But when he sent me an inquiry letter, it was addressed to me. My name is definitely spelled, so he spelled it correctly. And it was obvious he had done his homework. He, said, I know your store. I've looked at it online. I've seen, you had this Instagram post, and this is why I think my book would make sense in your store. He told us a little bit about himself and like the fact that he'd raised $45,000 through a Kickstarter program, shared his social media, his website with us. And I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. And like included just like, again, a one sheet about him. And it was super personable. It was clear that a person had written it. It was not like just a form letter that he'd sent to, 10,000 stores.
He had the name of your store.
He had the name of our store. Mm-hmm. And so just encouraging them, again, I know it's work, but if they want to get the best results, this industry is all about building those connections and showing that you know that your book fits with them, because we also get the opposite. Dear bookseller, we have a book coming out and we think you'd like it. And I'm like, no, I just delete it because you haven't even done the courtesy of addressing it to me.
A little research.
Right. Yeah,
at my store, I'm the book buyer. So you send it to me. At Joanna's store, she's the owner. You send it to her. So just knowing the store, who's the contact person, that's the bare minimum right there. If you do that, you'll probably be good to go. And if you're like, hey, Kim, so-and-so is going to come in. They want to talk to you about their upcoming book. All right, let's talk. I'll meet you at the store, buy you a cup of coffee.
Give us the window. My author is going to be there this week. Can they, set up 15 minutes to come and talk with you?
Yeah, because, we might be out, fixing the vacuum or
processing inventory.
And also, so I think what all of us are saying here is we're moving from the transactional to the collaborative.
Yes.
And encourage them to do that.
But I would say, and I think also cheaper, asking for a timeline, I would say probably 3 to 6 months before publication is probably the sweet spot.
And never
definitely not December 1st.
Yes, never on a Tuesday.
Yeah, not on Tuesday.
Not on Small Business Saturday.
Never on a Tuesday.
Not on December 1st. And actually we have a rule on our website that if anything that you want in stock for Christmas, you have to purchase before October 1st. Actually, it might be October 15th.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're just too busy. But I'd say the sweet spot is 3 to 6 months before publication for us to really start to be able to think about it.
I think that wraps it up. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA site at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!